Yeah, well, it's an odd thing that the worst possible consequence of a terrorist attack is that it isn't the attack itself, it's the reaction to the attack that makes the attack successful. Well, I mean, I hate airports. I hate them. Like I was unbearable to travel with my wife for like 10 years. We finally figured out how to work it out. But every time I went into an airport after 9/11, I thought, they're training everybody to accept the doctrines of a totalitarian state. You have to line up like sheep to do stupid things that mean nothing, that give you the illusion of security, implemented by faceless authoritarians and then acted out by powerless minions.
And then you get used to it.
Well, that's the problem, is everybody goes through airports. And so I think that you can see what would you say? The forefront of the authoritarian movement is in airports. And you can see that right now, because now, increasingly, as you board a plane, they want to take your photo.
I say no to that. You can refuse it.
So far, you can refuse. Yeah, right.
The real ID.
But 6 months.
How is that different than the other ID?
Yeah.
Was my other ID fake?
Yeah.
This real ID? I have a real ID? No, this is the real one. Your other one didn't count.
And that private company, Clear. It's like, oh, I see. So you can pay to circumvent the security as long as you accept the authoritarian presumptions, right?
Exactly. Well,
it's terrible.
You had a semi mentally retarded man named Richard Reed, an Englishman, who tried to put a bomb very sloppily in one of his shoes and was trying to put the wire. Because of that reason alone, we all have to take our shoes off.
Yeah.
Unless
Which meant
you pay
his
extra.
attack was very successful, because you know how much did that cost? How much has that cost us, just economically?
Well, the billions of dollars they put on and the machines. What happens is there becomes the machine that comes into place and that takes advantage of certain situations like this. The machine that gave the president these new powers in the Patriot Act, the machine that now became part of the surveillance state, that doesn't want to go away, because that machine is making money. So the machine at the security is going to keep going, because that makes money for some company, and they're going to keep coming. We're going to need this. We're going to need this other thing. We're going to need this enhanced. And then if you want to pay more.
Right, and then it's replicated everywhere at once. I know Siemens, I think it was Siemens, put in these new scanners, right? They're like cat scanners.
They're like medical scanners,
Yeah, I know. It's like you can't get a medical scan, but your luggage can. Yeah, for free, right? Which is also pretty strange, all things considered.
Be very wary when when your government says this is free.
Yeah.
So you have that, but as far as the Congress giving the powers to the president, neither party wants to get rid of it, because they know they'll eventually have those. They want that kind of unfettered rights to just put in their laws that they want. I think it was 125 the first week executive orders that Biden put in. And the Republicans don't want to get rid of it either. They don't want to get rid of the Patriot Act because they want to have the same powers. So you really have an entrenched political machine in both parties that don't want to give up these powers. So you have...
maybe the Doge guys will do something about that.
Maybe they will.
We'll see. That'll be really interesting.
But then you have like what happened with after 9/11 as well. This security apparatus because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Because you can massively gather all Americans' communications and then try to look for certain keywords, by these supercomputers. It doesn't mean you should do it. So I hope that that will be a thing of the past. But there's just so much money in it. It's the same thing.
It's also very hard to get rid of something once it's there.
Once it's in place.
You have a constituency that's agitating for it desperately, right? Because, they're very dependent upon it once it's in place.
Well, the spy system is there, the system of surveillance, and that's an outreach of it, a very low outreach for people. The idea that, that there are these many people who want to take a plane down and crash them into a building, I would say that's very few.
Yes, like none. It's fundamentally none, right?
Yeah, I think
and certainly not at the level of detectability, because your false positive rate is like 1 billion to 1. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. Everybody's a potential hijacker. It's like, no. Like, almost no one is a potential hijacker. No matter who you single out, the probability that you're wrong is overwhelming. And the question is, how much damage do you do in that false pursuit of security? I mean, in London, many of the buildings, there's a bit of this in New York, but many of the buildings in London have the same sort of security that airports do. people just get more and more accustomed to it.
They do, and that is a sad. That is a sad reaction to. And in some ways, I remember when these happened, I said, and a lot of people said, "Well, the terrorists won."
Yeah, right.
Because now we've
exactly.
got this. I haven't heard that in a while, but it's true. A sad thing that Andrew Doyle, our good friend, journalist and comedian, was saying that during the bombing in England at Ariana Grande concert, that the police or security saw a man with a backpack that was suspicious, and they didn't go up to him because they were afraid it might be considered a racist.
Mm-hmm.
So you have another weird reaction. So you have an overreaction to this security state system, that is a surveillance system that's put in place, and then you have an underreaction by people who think, well, this could be racist. And that ended up being somebody that they should have checked. So we're in a weird position in Western culture now, where we're under attack from all sides at the same time.
So let's delve into that a little bit conceptually. So one of the things that's worth pointing out with regards to the precursors for the COVID authoritarian lockdown, let's say, is what happened in the universities, because people don't understand this, and it's really important, because people generally look at the universities and they think that there's a battle raging in the universities about who should be allowed to speak freely, right? That's what cancel culture is.
Yeah.
That's not the battle. That radically understates the significance of the actual battle, because what is poorly understood by people, especially the moderates on the left, is that the postmodernists dispensed with the idea of free speech itself. They don't believe that progressives should have the right to free speech and no one else should. They believe that the metaphysics of the idea of free speech is false. Mm-hmm. So for the typical postmodernist, so the Enlightenment, or maybe even the Judeo-Christian assumption, is that, you're a sovereign authority of sorts as an individual,
right,
with inalienable value, and one of the consequences of that is that you have a viewpoint, and that viewpoint has intrinsic value. And I'm the same sort of being. And that means that if I listen to your viewpoint, we can come to an accord with one another that might be of mutual benefit. And so exchanging our ideas is not only beneficial, it's possible. That isn't what the postmodernists think. They think there's no game but power. And so no matter what I say, you made reference to this earlier, where you're the unwitting oppressor. Well, that stems logically from the tenets of postmodernism, because the postmodern insistence is that the only game in town is one of power. It doesn't matter what you say you're doing. That's completely irrelevant. You are, whether you know it or not, immersed in a power game. And the power game is defined by your, what would you call it, intersectional privilege, right? It's the intersection of the various group identities that give you an unearned superiority and power over other people. And when you're uttering your opinions, all you're doing is providing a post hoc justification for your privilege. That's it. No other game. Right. So the challenge that the postmodernists levied against Western culture is much deeper than arguments about who should speak freely. It's an assault on the idea of the metaphysics of freedom itself. The postmodernists believe none of that. None of it.
America's healthcare system is lacking in any real care. Insurance companies regularly deny progressive treatment options, primary care physicians refuse to order comprehensive lab work, and the standards of care lag years behind the leading research. That's where Merrick Health comes in. Merrick Health represents a paradigm shift in how we approach medicine. The premier health optimization platform, Merrick Health empowers you to maximize your longevity and performance with the confidence that comes from having experts in your back pocket. They offer cutting-edge diagnostic labs, concierge health coaching, and expert clinical oversight. They help you achieve your health and fitness goals by leveraging data-driven lifestyle and nutrition recommendations, along with supplement and prescription treatment options. If you're listening to this show, then you're probably a proponent of taking your health into your own hands. That's why we've teamed up with Merrick Health to offer a turnkey optimization package designed for those who want to maximize their performance and longevity with the most elaborate testing on the market. You'll receive extensive lab work, thorough lab reports, video calls with Merrick's health experts, and expedited onboarding. Go to merrickhealth.com/Peterson and use code Peterson to get the same panel and medical oversight I get, and save 10% at checkout. That's merrickhealth.com/Peterson and use code Peterson at checkout.
Well, what it really is, if you scrape and look down and you go, what is that? What is postmodernism? And you look, well, that's communism. That's Marxism. This is a totalitarian state. So it's an interesting way to get to it, because they went through the educational route instead of through the traditional route of through the worker. It was an easier turn to, and actually it was more susceptible to get to the culture and degrade Western civilization through academia than it was through the worker, because the worker knows that if he works hard, his life's going to be better in a capitalist system. Is it going to be perfect? No. Is it going to leave people out? Some people, yes. But
especially the people that don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people.
They'll be left out. However, in this utopian promise of the progressives is that the system is inherently evil and bad, and it's you're a bad person for participating in it. Therefore, it needs to be deconstructed completely. And to get to the better utopia, which is always leading to mass murder. But the academia was the place where you could have somebody like Kamala Harris's father would at Stanford University have a Marxist studies, and at that time in the early 70s, I think it was considered odd, but definitely like inclusive. Let's include that as part of it. Not that anybody would they thought there was genuine ideas that we should put into our into Western civilization. It was completely, we'd seen that its collapse and what it was capable of doing, and at that time what it was doing in the Soviet Union and in China, that this is a system that we don't want. But we'll still have it as part of the academia.